This is 911. State your emergency. Hello? I can't help you if I don't know where you're at, honey. Where are you at? Where are you? I need as many units as I can get for Fairfield Road. Give me the numbers.
911, what's your emergency?
Hey friends, it's Fletch. I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Welcome to this new podcast series, Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. Brought to you by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 services for the enterprise today and making every second count. In this series, we're going to be talking to ENPs that have been on the job for years, as well as those brand new ENPs that have just passed the test. We'll dig in and have an in-depth conversation and find out what the ENP certification means to them. We'll talk about why they did it, what it means for their career, and what they did to pass the exam. Industry certifications are important to industry professionals, and the ENP certification is one that's admired by many in public safety. So join me as we find out exactly what makes an ENP tick in this off-the-cuff podcast series, Confessions of an ENP. Hey, it's Fletch. Welcome to this episode of Off the Cuff, True Confessions of an ENP. Today we're on the line with Butch Garrity, who is a dispatch supervisor for the Massachusetts State Police. Welcome to the podcast. Congratulations on being a brand new ENP, Butch.
Thank you very much.
So you're no spring chicken. You're an old guy like me. How long have you been in public safety?
I started running as a volunteer firefighter when I was 16, and I am presently 62.
Nice. So you got about 10 years on me. You've been doing it. So you've seen a lot of changes in the industry. Why so long to get your ENP? What drove you to do this now?
Well, I'm getting close to retirement within the next couple of years, and it's one of those things I've really only heard about for the last few years. And then I said, you know what? Before I retire, I want to be an EMP. And I looked it up and how difficult it was, and I said, yeah, we're going to do this.
Nice. It's not an easy test. How long did you study for it?
Oh, I got in two different groups. I went in to Louisa Lake's group and Tracy Eldridge's group, and so 4 or 5 months.
Okay. So you took Tracy's program and you still passed?
Yeah, she's awesome. She has a different way of explaining things, and it actually sticks.
I have to break her chops every time because she's like a sister to me, and I say this every time. You know, what she's done for the industry is just tremendous, and I know that she cranks a lot of people through, that her ENP study group. Those are all free, and I tell people, I remind people, even if you're not going to get your ENP certification, go ahead and take the classes. They're free. You can take them multiple times. You can take multiple classes, and it's just good education for your career. And if you ever decide to take the ENP, you've already got that under your belt.
Absolutely.
So you put in about 4 or 5 months study. That sounds about right. When you sat down for the exam and you finished up, before you found out, did you think you passed, or were you questionable, or what did you think?
I was questioning. I didn't have a firm like, man, I killed it. I was like, oh boy. I'm not sure.
So I'll tell you a story. I took my first ENP, 12 years ago. And then I took my refresher or my renewal 4 years after that. In both of those exams, even after I'd been an ENP for 4 years, I still walked out of that second one going, oh my God, I hope I passed. Now, we used to get a pass fail right on the spot there as well. You get a green light, red light, and then, a month later you get your final score. And I did well both times, but I said, dang, that's a great test if I can walk out of there on a renewal and still not know if I passed. And then I got on the NIB and started contributing to the tests, which has been very rewarding. So, but my job is to make the questions hard.
Well, you did great.
Well, not just me, a lot of people. It's probably I've had people tell me, "Well, I'm a paramedic, and that was a breeze compared to the EMP test." But but that's why you'll find that you probably haven't seen it yet because you literally have had your ENP final for a couple of days. So as you start introducing yourself as an ENP, meeting other ENPs, meeting other people in the industry, you're going to very quickly find how much respect those three letters get you, especially from other ENPs.
Absolutely. Once you go through it, you're like, wow, this is not easy. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I didn't know that it would be as difficult as it was.
Yeah. So, well, that's great. I mean, so have you been back to work since you got your official? Does anybody at work know yet?
Um, I just got it yesterday, and yeah, I advise people today.
Nice. And what were what kind of reaction did you get, and from who?
Very positive. Very positive. I have got just an amazing staff of people every day. They exceed expectation.
So now your job is to go out and inspire them to get in the class. How about your agency? Do they recognize the value of that ENP? Do they pay for that?
They're We work on a reimbursement. So basically, if you take the test exam and pass it, then you get reimbursed. So yeah, and they're very supportive.
Good. No, that's fantastic. They should do. You should tell them they should do a press release. They should do media, and they should really promote that within their agency.
I believe they are.
Oh, that's
I've been
great.
contacted by media relations.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. How many EMPs are in state police that you know of?
I believe just myself and one other.
Oh, okay. Well, they should.
Maybe 120 employees.
Okay. Well, there's a goal for them set out, and at least they're doing the media recognition. That's fantastic, Butch.
And
Now
that's
you
part of my taking the test, where somebody can say, well, geez, if he can pass it, then I know I can pass
yeah, that dude's 62 years old and he passed.
it. And some of it is a little difficult in Massachusetts, as you probably know. We have a great state 911, but they do all of the technical stuff. And if you're a PSAP manager, you might know some of the behind the scenes stuff, but maybe not a lot because they handle all that stuff.
Right.
So a lot of it was a learning process.
Well, and it's good to understand the network that's behind what you do, because then if something is broken, you can communicate more intelligently up the ladder to those folks and maybe, minimize the outage because of your knowledge and troubleshooting. So that's great. Yeah, Mass is a very interesting state around public safety. They're very proactive. I worked with them decades ago on their MLTS laws. And I've worked with the state 911 board on, becoming more aware of MLTS compliance now that Kerry's Law and the Ray Bonds Act are out. And Massachusetts has had legislation in the state, oh gosh, for probably 10 years or more. But it was always hard to enforce because there was never any penalty. Hand slap. But
Right.
now I'm hearing that, well, Mass, I think, is the only state that I've heard of that is actually requiring discrepancy reports from the PSAP. So tell me a little bit about discrepancy reports and when you have to do them and how that process goes.
Yeah. Really,
Let's start. What triggers the discrepancy report?
when we get an address that's incorrect, or now with the MLTS, within the last month or so, I sent out to my staff that when we take a call and we don't get an exact address, whether it's a school or a business or whatever, that we have to file a discrepancy report.
Right. So you don't have that internal dispatchable location.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yep, because that's what the Ray Bombs Act brought into play. Kerry's law was about access to 911 without the 9,
Hmm.
and then Ray Bombs Act added in the location accuracy, what they call dispatchable location, which is room, quadrant, floor, whatever, something that you know where to send people inside the building. And of course, the on-site notification, so the people know that 911 was dialed and that you're showing up. So that's great. So discrepancy reports um, is a very interesting topic, and there's going to be a webinar coming up shortly with your friend and mine, Tracy, of course, talking about discrepancy reports and why they're there, and talking about Massachusetts and what the state 911 agency is doing, because they're actually taking those reports that you generate, following up on them, and then if they don't get fixed, that business and its name goes on the Massachusetts naughty list, which is published on the public website. So I give them a lot of credit for using the shame on you method of becoming compliant.
It is really an exciting time to be
And
in 911 and public safety.
so you've seen a lot of changes since '94.
Absolutely.
What do you think? Obviously, you use Rapid SOS and the handset-based location. How has that changed the job for you?
It just there's the job has been constant change, constant. Whether it's the radios or the phones or all of that. We're using Rapid SOS, although we're not fully into it yet. You have things like what 3 words and new apps, and one of my dispatchers is super techie, so we'll take a lost hiker, get the coordinates, put it in Rapid SOS, put it in SAR Topo, come up with an address. Before the responders are even on scene, he's sending them a text message with where to park their vehicle and a picture of where the person is related with a map, and what direction to go on the trail to find them.
And the next thing that's coming is going to be a selfie with the first responder that arrives, right?
It's really just a crazy time.
So
It's exciting.
it is exciting because my company's working on stuff around location for MLTS, getting you floor plans, maps, resources, where the AEDs are, closest entry, closest egress. We have one customer we're playing around with, large campus, 25, 30 buildings. Their security department, all ex-law enforcement, they have drones on property. And we calculate a latitude, longitude of where the incident is. They send the drone up to automatically respond and give an aerial view of the incident live. Their property is so big, they have typically 3 MVAs on the property a week. I'm like, maybe you should have invested in an employee driving program instead of drones.
Yeah. And it's constant change. I was talking to my folks this morning, and we were talking about how not long you'll be seeing pictures and text messages and videos from the scene, which is good and bad. It's nice to be able to have that visual, but sometimes that visual is not nice to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's one thing. Dispatchers, it's a double-edged sword, really. They get no closure on the calls they do take, and that's stressful. But they're shielded from the blood and gore, right? I was a first responder EMT when I was in high school because I get out of class for day calls, right? Because the principal was a first responder in the high school. But in my senior year, a friend of mine went up into his attic with a 44 and took his life. That was emotional enough. I didn't get that call, but I know people that, were on that call, and knowing that and being in high school and losing a classmate to that was, I can only imagine the trauma if I saw that.
Right, right. And that's a little scary. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, so there's got to
I'm
be,
glad we're not there yet.
I think a little bit of artificial intelligence and video recognition can help shield. The dispatcher doesn't need to see everything. The dispatcher might request information, and it's great that they could get it. You know, um, I've got a cut on my arm. Okay, let me see. Oh yeah, that's just a scratch. Or okay, that's going to need stitches. Or yeah, you're hanging on by a tendon. It's going to make a BLS an ALS, right? Or make an ALS a BLS,
Right.
right? Save resources. Or I got a little fire in my kitchen. Okay, that's through the roof, and we call that a working structure fire.
All right. All right.
You might have burnt dinner, but we've got a different term for that. So, I think it's got both sides, right? You never really know.
Right. And it's hard to tell from the caller. We used to issue burning permits, and we just stopped that recently. But the people call for a burning permit, then they call back later on. Hey, I'd like to order a fire truck. You want to, just as calm as, like they were ordering a pizza.
Yeah.
You want to order a fire truck? Yeah. Yeah, the fire is starting to get out of control. Well, they lost their house, barn, garage, everything. But
yeah, it's starting to get on the neighbor's property now. We better call somebody. So what kind of area does state police cover with you? You've obviously covered dispatch for agencies, and you probably actually cover law for certain areas, right?
Yeah, police, fire, and EMS for 25 towns.
Okay.
So we do a lot of coordination, mutual aid coordination, interstate, intrastate. The fires are getting bigger. Since there's volunteer departments, we're sending out 2 or 3 departments to a fire to get it out. Ambulances were running all over. Law enforcement, with the new protocols, things are changing there. So everything is changing all the time, and we're just trying to do our best to keep up.
How many dispatch centers does Massachusetts State Police have?
Well, they have 9 altogether. Now, some of them are troop dispatch centers where they do a state police troop. And then there's 3 of us that are regional dispatch centers that do police, fire, and EMS.
Okay. So you're a primary. You take the 911 calls,
right?
And dole them out accordingly. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty interesting. I mean, it's interesting to talk to the different people and understand the different topologies. And that's a big part of the technology side of an ENP and why that's important. People say, why do I need to know what a selective router does and how the call gets from here to there? And, the big thing is you got to troubleshoot around that sometimes, when it goes down, and it's all changing with next gen.
In hindsight, I wish I had taken it 10 years ago. I think of all those meetings I went to where somebody was talking about radios or phones, and I'm like, I wish I knew what the hell they were saying.
You're making a decision. Well, that guy looks like he's smart. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. That one's good.
Oh, so we're going back to cup and string? What? Yeah. So that's been a huge change. What part of the test did you find the most difficult?
Probably the next gen 911. Yeah. Probably the next gen 911 was the most challenging, I guess, for me.
What was challenging about it?
Just the way calls are routed. Trying to remember all of the little intricacies in it.
It's got a lot of different components that do a lot of different things. And, that's one thing that Tracy and Monica and a few others are actually incorporating in their lessons. Now they've got to deal with next gen. They're taking next gen and they're I don't want to say dumbing it down, but they're simplifying it with examples of non-911 things that perform the same level of functions. Right? It's Sesame Street 911.
And it's helpful. She posts that stuff up on YouTube, and I can't tell you how many times I watched it and just went through it multiple times, and it's very handy.
Yeah. I always kid. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter Q.
Yeah.
But that's okay. If that's what gets you to remember, it's a great tool to use for learning. So,
right. And like you said, it gives you the baseline knowledge. So now, whether it's phone, radio, or other technology, or whatever, you can speak intelligently in a group of people and get to the other side of where you need to be.
I've had a lot of people tell me that they're either in the middle of an RFP, they're going to an RFP, or they're in the decision process, and now they can be a better part of that conversation, a more interactive role of that conversation. I interviewed somebody up in the Michigan, Wisconsin type area, and she says, wow, I was just about ready to put the RFP on the street. She goes, I got to go back and rewrite this thing. With the new stuff I've learned, I got a lot of stuff to change. So,
yeah.
So, well, that's great. Well, listen, Butch, I really appreciate you spending some time with us on the podcast. And 62 years old, still dispatching like crazy. God bless you, brother. That's great, man. Now that you're one of the few people that actually make me feel a little younger, because I got 10 years on you. Most people make me feel older.
Still enjoy it. Work with great group of people.
Yep.
Just a tremendous group of people, and they're always exceeding expectations.
Once it's in your blood, if it's an industry for you, you know it and you live it, and that's your life, man. And even if you get out of it, you're still typically involved with it somehow. So, well, good deal, man. Well, we'll be checking in with you. I am very, very interested in the MLTS stuff. I mean, that's what I do for a living, that side of it. So, being that Massachusetts is such a proactive state, you're one of my new best friends up there.
Absolutely.
Because the only other best friend I had was Tracy, and I've been trying like hell to get rid of her. So thanks, brother. You helped me accomplish that now.
Thank you.
So now you're in trouble. Now you're in trouble.
All the time.
All right, Brad. I'll see you later. Thanks, Butch.
All right. Bye.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. I'm Mark Fletcher, ENP, and I'm the Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Off the Cuff is sponsored by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 solutions to the enterprise today and making every second count. Visit them on the web at 911inform.com. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Fletch911. Check out all my blogs and podcasts at Fletch.tv. And be sure to like and subscribe below. That way you'll be immediately notified whenever a new podcast is published. Thanks so much for listening. If you're in public safety, thanks for what you do. Take care and have a great day.